How do you stop overthinking and become more stoic as a trader? This is one of the questions that I've been trying to answer for myself for a number of years, and it's something that I've been going through as well, trying to stop myself from overthinking whilst placing trades. And it was never just solely within trading, but it was also within a number of aspects of my life. Trying not to overthink and spend too much time doing something and more just execute and take the leap of faith on whatever it is I was trying to do. But purely in the scope of trading, I just want to talk about how to kind of prevent yourself from overthinking and be more stoic and systemized with your trading so that you can do things in a short span of time and you get more progress done. Try and get more winning trades and improve your results. Now, I'm sure not everyone can relate to this video, of course. Not everyone goes through phases of overthinking. A lot of people are quite impulsive with the way that they are in their behavior. So they could be impulsive spenders. They might be a gambler, for example. They might thrive off the feeling of taking the leap of faith and seeing what happens. Overthinking, especially like this as well, is a double-edged sword. It can be good for long-term decisions, but for very menial, short-term decisions like trading, it's probably not a character trait that you want to possess. Now, as opposed to being an impulsive person, that can also be a double-edged sword too. A lot of these character traits, they can be double-edged swords. They'll all provide benefit in some aspect of your life, but then they'll also be a drawback to you in some aspects of your life too. Being an impulsive person, for example, might help you in taking quick decisions, which is very beneficial if you're able to do that consistently in taking the correct decision. But if it means that you're very jittery and kind of quick with your decision making in trading, if you don't know what you're doing in the first place, then it can obviously result in quick losses. And that's not what we want to see. We don't want to see a massive steep cliff of our equity curve just absolutely fall off because of quick, consistent losses. So how do we actually stop overthinking and try and be more stoic as a trader? How do we eradicate and get rid of this overthinking symptoms that we have, which is affecting our trading? Well, two ways. Well, there are a number of ways, but two main ways which helped me was by refining your approach to the market and also limiting how much time you spend in the market as well. So I'll actually talk about the second one first because that one was quick and easy, but limiting how much time you spend in the markets is very crucial to your attention span and how much focus and concentration you can give to the markets. In my opinion, the longer you spend in front of the charts, the more likely you are to make a dumb decision. So how can we combat this? Well, what we can do is we can limit how much chart time that we have to a specific window of a session in the day. So to put it simple, you can either trade like, for example, the London session, the Asian session, the New York session, or the PM session. But even within those times, those are still a good few hours of time window of chart time. And us as humans, we can't exactly focus on the candles for that long, essentially. So you can keep yourself occupied in the meantime. Like, for me, example, I might play a game like chess or something, or I'll try and edit a video, try and be productive, or I'll just only skim across the charts every so often, basically. Trying to keep yourself occupied and try and limit yourself from focusing on the charts too much. Now, it's especially more dangerous for people like who trade on lower time frames, scalpers and day traders, because for scalpers, seeing 1 minute candles, the amount of 1 minute candles that you see in that same span of time in comparison to day traders or swing traders, that can aid you're overthinking in terms of trading, because you're seeing so many candles go across your screen, which means that many candles you see is that many decisions that you're making in your mind. You have a different thought with every candle that passes and prints on the screen. So you have to really limit your time to how much you give to the charts. And at first, it might not be understandable to a lot of you guys, because we all have the mindset of the more time you give to something, the better it's going to get. But unfortunately in trading, we can't apply that here. The more time we dedicate to trading does not equate to the better results. I'll give you guys an example. So when I was developing as a trader, I mean, I still am, but in my earlier days, about 1 or 2 years ago, I would look at the charts immediately from 8:30 a.m., which is in New York time, all the way to 12 p.m., the New York lunch. Because I was spending so much time watching the charts, I wanted to be paid for that time for watching it. And this is the stigma of watching the charts for so long and assuming with your mind that the more time you dedicate, it's going to equate to better results. It will bite you back, and it's not sustainable. Even if you do get some winning trades by spending a certain amount of time and just taking a punt, taking a leap of faith, it could, best case scenario, you could probably get yourself a funded account. You could probably make a certain percentage. Hell, you might even reach a payout if you do that. But is it sustainable in the long term? Not really, because we have to think about the long term as a trader. We have to think about how our skills are going to be progressing over the years to really give us that longevity in the results that we're looking for. Now, the other method to try and reduce the symptoms of overthinking, you could say, is your approach to the market. Now, something that I kind of discovered recently was kind of making a hierarchy in your system or in your concepts. So I have a number of factors which go into me wanting to take a trade. And what I never did before was I just learn the concepts and then try and find them in my charts. Now, the problem with this is that if you see one concept conflicting with another, you have no idea which one should have the priority, which one should hold more weight in terms of your basis of your analysis. You really want to be able to prioritize in a hierarchy system what concepts take priority over another. So I'll give you a simple example. I would dedicate a higher time frame drawn liquidity, a higher time frame direction over a lower time frame shift in market structure. Why? Because I want to be able to take trades which are in line for the majority move of the day, rather than trying to catch a retracement or just a liquidity sweep, for example. So really just self-analyze your own system. If you already have a trading strategy, I'd recommend definitely reflecting on it and try and see in a hierarchy system, try and make a priority list. What should be number one for me to be able to formulate a trade? What's number two to then see thereafter? What's number three? And then all the way down until you get to your entry model setup. It might first start off with trying to get like an overall direction, and then it will slowly filter down into eventually seeing your trade setup and your model and getting more detailed and more specific as you go down. The reason why you should be doing this is because you want to be able to mitigate the chances of having conflicting thoughts come into your mind. Now, with trading, there's an abundance of knowledge. There's infinite knowledge on the internet. There's so much things you could learn, from different indicators to price action, ICT concepts, SMC, Wyckoff, supply and demand, all these things. But compiling all these things together in one massive blob does not really help you. You need to be able to dictate in your own mind what has priority over the other. You want to make sure that the amount of conflicting thoughts come into your mind while you're trading is very minimized, if not completely gone. Whilst the market is printing live, you want to be able to know in your mind that this factor that's coming into my head, although it's part of my system, it doesn't prioritize over the other. One thing in particular might conflict with that system. But you have to realize it's okay to get rid of that. There might be a workaround because you'll have other factors weighing on one side of the market as opposed to the other. If you're someone who's watched a few of my videos recently, then you would have realized that in one of my recent videos that I spoke about discipline and how to try and develop a good consciousness in, well, more so for your trading, but also in general in life. And when you have these conflicting thoughts coming into your mind, this is where your consciousness will come in. You want to be able to develop a good consciousness to understand and evaluate if this conflicting thought is actually going to benefit your trading, your current setup of what you're seeing in the charts. So understanding and trying to take a step back and evaluate what is the decision you're being presented with? What are the options? Do you want to include it or do you not? So I hope you guys can see how all these things I talk about in my videos, they're all coming together and linking, blending together to be able to recondition and rebuild your mind, rewire your mind for a better way of looking at the charts. So I'll give you an example of how I realized this. And it was basically, I was reading the high time frame direction. I wanted the market to go up and I had all these factors in my head saying as to why I think the market should go higher. I had things in agreement on my 4-hour and 1-hour charts. And then I was then ready to then look for the entry setup. But there was one thing that was conflicting in my mind, which was, in general, for the day, if the London session goes down, then it can be reasonable to expect the New York session to continue that. Now, this sort of idea was very low on the priority of my trading system, as opposed to the high time frame direction. I prioritized the high time frame direction over this thought, over this reasonable thing that could happen, but not always. So I just had to accept the fact that I have to toss that idea out the window because it's conflicting with my other factors, which are all in agreement. You have to be able to heavily weigh one side of the market with your reasoning and confluences. So that was essentially everything I wanted to highlight in terms of trying to stop overthinking. And I really hope you guys found it useful because overthinking is still to this day one of my character traits. And yes, it does aid me in a lot of aspects of my life, and more so in terms of long-term decisions. But me, I think way too much. I find it very hard to be able to just take the leap of faith, trying to find the impulsiveness to just take decisions. And for short-term decisions where there's no real impact, where there's no huge impact, it's okay because eventually you'll learn and you'll take a more educated impulse decision. When it's something that's can be really impacting, like trading, thinking so many times and inviting all these factors into your head, which can mess with your head, it's really not helpful, especially when the market is printing live and you've placed a trade. This now invites all these physical symptoms to be brought onto you, like shallow breathing or increasing your heart rate, your adrenaline, your stress, cortisol in your blood. So it's really important that we try and understand how to mitigate these things from happening, because if not, it can also affect you physically. And because trading is something we do for a long period of time, for a number of years, having these symptoms for a long period of time is not exactly healthy. So for your sake, for my sake, and for your sake, take this advice and try and stop yourself from overthinking and be more stoic and systemized with the way you look at trading. So that was everything I wanted to talk about in this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Appreciate it if you've listened this far. Stay happy, stay blessed, and thanks for watching.